Good day. Welcome to another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal discussion about our favorite show, movie series, Star Trek. And today I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, the Doctor.
Hello.
Hello, Doctor. Very good to see you. And we're going to be talking about Star Trek Beyond. We're a little bit late in our discussion about Star Trek Beyond, but a few things occurred. The Doctor was on an excursion, and unfortunately, he's been plagued by Aldebaran palsy. Do you want to take a minute and do you mind if I tell everyone what's going on? Is that okay?
Sure, go ahead. Go ahead.
So there's a thing that it's not uncommon and it's not super it's not super common either, called Bell's palsy. And so when you get this, part of your face actually can become paralyzed, and your speech is diminished, and so is sometimes you can't blink, and part of your face, it's just not working. And my friend Humbert, who his handle is the Doctor, who joins us here week to week, has gotten this Bell's palsy, and it is bilateral in your situation.
Yeah, I just found out bilateral. It's usually just half, but in this case, it's both sides. But as you can see, it basically I can't smile, and I can't raise my eyebrows. I can't do this walk, and my speech is a bit impaired. But other than that, I'm okay.
Yeah, I mean, your speech is just a little bit different, but you sound pretty much like you always do. And if you get tired, let me know, and we'll cut the episode short. It's not a big deal.
Actually, I want to say the very last thing that I enjoyed before I was stricken with this was Star Trek Beyond.
Yes, you went to see Star Trek Beyond, and I think, well, I mean, you enjoyed it, so you've already told us a little bit of what you think. But that must be Babe.
I texted her. Can you hear that?
Yeah, we can hear that. It's fine.
Oh, I'm sorry. I texted her. I told her that.
Okay, cool. So we could just continue.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
All right, so we'll wait for.
It's just gonna keep going. I'm sorry.
Okay, we'll wait until it passes a little bit. But that's the thing about doing a live broadcast, is that sometimes you have situations like this. Now, a few little announcements before we get into our actual discussion about Star Trek Beyond. One, Starfleet Boy is now also simulcast as a podcast. So if you head over to iTunes and search for Starfleet Boy, you can download our podcast version, and it's a little bit different. It has an opening and closing theme, so you'll be able to hear it at a higher quality as well, because we also record it differently, but not until. You won't hear that higher quality till much later. I mean, we do also pre-record a lot of episodes, so this Star Trek Beyond review is going to be higher quality, but then you'll go back to the previous quality until we catch up again. And I just want to give a shout out to 8-Bit Universe, who are responsible for the wonderful 8-Bit theme. You heard it, right, Doctor?
Yes. It reminded me of my days of using the Commodore VIC-20.
The Commodore VIC-20. Oh, wow. I haven't thought about that guy in a long time. So I'll go into a quick summary about Star Trek Beyond. We haven't talked about the other Star Treks on Starfleet Boy yet, but if you tune into Drunk Space Nine, you can hear our drunk reviews of Star Trek, which we called Redrunk. Star Trek Into Drunkness, and then Star Trek, and then Star Trek Beyond Drunk was the was the last one. Yeah, it's true.
I wish I could smile.
I'm sorry. We know you're smiling, Doctor, and we really appreciate you coming on the show, considering you're not at 100%. Star Trek Beyond takes starts up just a few years, I think that it's about 3 years into their 5-year mission. And we see a crew that's kind of, seeing the toll of space travel, deep space travel on them. There's a really nice montage with, showing like people and their relationships and, the various things that are happening. And it's a beautiful kind of opening with Captain's log narrating this montage. And then where the Enterprise is approaching a deep space station called Space Station Yorktown, and they're going there for like just a resupply and kind of a little bit of shore leave. And after spending a little time there and getting some time with the Commodore Paris, Captain Kirk and the crew go back out into the great beyond. Oh wait, sorry, I skipped something. They receive while they're at the Yorktown, a damaged ship approaches, and they are able to rescue an alien who informs them that the rest of her crew is waiting in this nebula. They're stranded on a planet. And so the Enterprise is dispatched to go and on a rescue mission. They go through this nebula, and when they get there, it turns out to be a trap. And the Enterprise is completely demolished. I mean, it's just destroyed in a way that there's no question about it being destroyed. And then the crew is stranded on this planet, and then we also meet our villain, who is basically pushing back. This is where the Frontier pushes back, as he says. He thinks that the Federation is a sham. He doesn't think it's real, that they're not really the Federation mission is not really peace, and he's intent on going to Yorktown Station and destroying it as well, to prove and send a message to the Federation to basically stay back. No more exploration. Don't go any further. And of course, that's not what we're going to do. And Starfleet and the Federation are not about giving up so easily. So the rest of the movie is a wild and entertaining romp of the crew trying to get back to Yorktown Station to save the day. Of course, in Star Trek style, they do, in a very interesting way, mind you. And at the end of the day, it is revealed that our villain was actually once a human who's somehow transformed his genetic makeup through the use of alien technology, and is just bent on sort of trying to destroy the Federation, but he fails ultimately, and Kirk and Spock and McCoy are victorious and back on board a new Enterprise, the Enterprise A. And that's it. Pretty simple, not too complicated, right? Did I nail it? I can't. Yeah, it's been a few days since I've seen it.
No, yeah, I think you nailed it. The thoughts. Okay. Well, I'll break it down into what I liked and what I didn't like. What I liked were the character interactions. I thought the way that the characters were broken up into pairs. Kirk with Chekhov, essentially, Scotty with the new character who was added.
Oh, I totally forgot to mention her in the summary.
Well, we'll go into detail now.
Jayla, yeah, exactly. She's
yeah,
a new character. Interesting character too.
Interesting character. Who? Well, I'll speculate later, but I'll just leave McCoy with Spock, and Sulu with Uhura. And I thought, I like the fact that it had a setup kind of like Star Trek 4, where for a while various casts members were paired off and were doing different things in service to the story. So I liked that. Um, the visuals were excellent,
Oh yeah, they were really phenomenal. It's true.
starting with the Yorktown, the that station, which McCoy I think describes it as a snow globe
I know
in
that was.
space, and
By the way, that was a great scene because he's like, why don't they just build a planet, or whatever or what have you? Instead, they've got this like snow globe looking thing, and that was such a Dr. McCoy
it
accurate
was.
type thing. That little interplay actually between the three of them was really funny, and I really enjoyed that. Actually, I enjoyed the entire crew's dynamics a lot more in this movie than in the previous two Star Trek Kelvin films. I thought they were so natural together. I think that it may have taken them a couple of pictures before, which is okay. That's kind of a thing that you might expect. But I thought they were very natural. I think they have it down pat. They know exactly when to do a characterization, and they know exactly when to be to branch off from that. So I thought that was an excellent thing.
Yeah. The visuals of the Yorktown, the visuals of the planet itself. I liked the landscape of the planet, and I think they did a great job realizing that. Star Trek, a lot of it seemed to be shot outside,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't really think the Star Trek movies have a lot of that. In previous films, they're usually set bound. If you look at, I mean, let's take a look at in the original movies. Star Trek 1, 2, 3, and 6. Well, 6 had some outside location filming, but for the most part, they're sets. But this movie, you were outside. In this way, it actually has that in common with Insurrection, which has a lot of
Oh yeah, they actually do abandon the. Um, oh no, sorry, yeah, not Insurrection. Insurrection had a lot of outside, but so did First Contact.
and First Contact. Correct.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Both of those movies have a lot of location filming, and Generations actually has quite a bit too. Now that I think about it, so with the original crew, I'm used to thinking of them on a set, not really outside so much. And these people are, in this shirt of the original crew. So I thought the visuals of the planet were very good. And what I didn't like was the villain.
Right, Crawl. So I thought the same thing. I did. I think that like so far of the three villains that we've seen, Nero, Khan, and Crawl, who do you like the most?
Who do I like the most?
Mm-hmm.
Nero.
Yeah, I think he's the most original
Yeah,
of the three villains.
and you feel him, like you kind
Mm-hmm.
of, but Crawl, I'm not exactly sure how we're supposed to feel about him. Really, how do you like? How do you
I
feel
think
about
that
Crawl?
for me, I think that the definitely the main sort of place where this film falls short is Crawl. I thought it was cool that he was. First of all, we should state, and everyone should know, this show is littered with spoilers. So if you're listening to it,
Oh well, yeah,
you
yeah,
probably already realized that by now. um, anyway, so Crawl is definitely interesting and has a lot of potential, because I liked the fact that he was a starship captain. I liked also that he was a soldier before that, and I liked that he was disillusioned with Starfleet, and I liked even the stuff about how he found this technology. But there's something that goes wrong with the storytelling, because he stays, very two-dimensional. He doesn't really. I never felt like I didn't my heart wasn't in his cause. I was just like, oh, it's just kind of like he's just doing this, but it's not very. There's no real impetus behind it, or other than he's disgruntled. And I don't know. I feel like he's been around for 100 years. That should have like tempered him by now, but he seems like he's just gotten angrier. And then the actual MacGuffin, as we talked about earlier in a side conversation, the deadly weapon didn't seem very. I mean, like, we had the red matter was very kind of cool and like it definitely had a scary effect. I mean, it could envelop an entire world by creating a singularity. And then in Into Darkness, there is the threat of these genetically superior beings all being woken up, and imagine 75 of them, all in at Khan's command. Like, they could probably rule the planet. And then the Vengeance was pretty cool. I thought that was interesting.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah. I think in that movie, the Vengeance is definitely the specter that looms over that movie. I mean, that's really the menace that you're afraid of.
Right, and then and then we see all the destruction it causes when it crash lands on Earth. And then in this movie, it was kind of like the red matter redone as like a foggy, sandy material. I mean, it wasn't like and I wasn't really clear. It was almost like the Thalaron radiation in Star Trek Nemesis. Like, it's just something that's been done before, and it didn't seem like very cool. But you know what? That's pretty much the only place that this movie fails for me. And I was delighted by so much of it that I'm willing to even just kind of look past it and think, you know what? Just to watch the crew interact with each other, and just kind of like the way that they get out of the situation, to me, is just a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it on that level very much. I really liked the finding of the USS Franklin.
That was cool.
I like the references to Enterprise that were given in that scene. I enjoyed Jayla's character a lot. I thought she was very spunky and kind of cool, and like, you can tell she might even join Starfleet, if I'm not mistaken. That's kind of like the idea, is that she's probably going to join Starfleet and become an engineer, probably.
You know what, I was just thinking as you were describing the summary, and we need to of course touch on the fact that there are this actor passed away, the actor who played Chekhov.
Anton Yelchin.
Yeah, which was very, very sad, because he was a great talent, and he's excellent in the movie, and he always stands out when he was in these movies. And I'm wondering if what would you think if they brought back what's the alien's name?
Jayla.
Where Jayla was added to the crew.
Oh, I would really like that, actually. That would be really awesome. And it'd be neat to have a crew member that's another crew member that's an alien, further diversify the bridge, as one imagines an actual Starfleet bridge, starship bridge would be in the future. So I actually would enjoy that too, and I wouldn't mind at all. I thought she was a great character, and she had a really nice sort of rapport with all of the actors, all the characters. She had a great rapport, of course, with Scotty, who she discovers, and then even with Kirk, there's a little interesting tension going on, and she calls the Franklin her ship.
Right.
Yeah, I think that was cool too.
I mean, it's very sad that this actor has passed away, but and they've already announced that there's no intentions to recast, which I think is right. It's the correct thing. This movie actually, oddly enough, presents an option for a replacement. I mean, I think that character, works, and I think it would be very interesting. Again, like you just said, to have another alien on board the bridge, because really, we have Spock, which is not. I mean, we're used to the ears at this point, but then we have, what's the little guy?
Oh, the Oyster Man. I forget his name.
Whatever his name is. It would be cool. Although, who I liked in the movie? The woman with the head that opens up.
Oh, yeah, that was so cool, where they actually hid the device for a little while. That was another great scene. So many great scenes. The Sulu was fantastic. This movie, and I guess we should touch upon the big debate. So, what did you think of Gay Sulu?
Well, it doesn't bother me.
Me neither. And I want to say I don't understand what the big deal was all about. I mean, like, the scene is so, it's not even really, it doesn't even really affect the film in any way. It's not like, they're not like making out or doing it or anything like that. It's a really sweet, touching scene where they arrive at the spaceport and his husband and his daughter are waiting for them. And it's just implied very casually and very nicely. And there's a really nice moment. Kirk kind of takes notice, and that was really cool. I thought that was great.
I mean, to be honest, I mean, as a purist, I think the thing that bothers me more is still this Spock Uhura combination. That I still don't. I'm not fully enamored of that change in the cast dynamic, but adding something beyond what we saw in the cast, I don't mind, because we really never saw anything of Sulu's life aside from having a daughter, which we see in Generations, which this movie shows. He has a daughter. So they're still following with the continuity. They're just adding that he had a husband instead of a wife. So it's not really conflicting with anything that we saw in any of the movies. Whereas Spock and Uhura is, I mean, I was actually kind of happy that they look like they might not be together, at the beginning of the movie. I was actually kind of like, oh, okay, good. Let's get this out of the way. But I think they've come back at the end. So
yeah, I think so too. Well. And I think that I think for me, yeah, I mean, like, Star Trek V clearly establishes that Scotty, there is chemistry between Scotty and Uhura. So
yeah.
So
you think that's? Go ahead.
My next question for you is: as the 50th anniversary film, how do you think, as far as like celebrating the 50th anniversary? Now, the last big anniversary was the 25th anniversary in 1992, and Star Trek VI was released in 91, so it's kind of like the anniversary picture, you know, with Star Trek VI, and that we know is a really epic. It was Star Trek VI is just phenomenal way to kick off the 25th anniversary. Plus, it was a big deal because it was signing off the original crew.
Correct.
So what did you think of the 50th anniversary message? Was there a message, or do you think it like celebrated Star Trek? What do you think?
I was let down in that sense. I don't think I think Star Trek VI felt like more of a celebration of what Star Trek was, and I personally felt more connected to that movie. This movie gave us a token, the image that's Spock
Oh
gets
yeah.
of which I'm sure you cried when you saw it.
So yeah, that was the part where kind of the floodgates just kind of opened and
Yeah.
oceans of tears flowed from my eyes. It's a very sweet moment. So both Kirk and Spock in the film are contemplating leaving Starfleet. And what seems to change Spock's mind is he finds they did a really touching scene, by the way. The dilemma is that Prime Spock has passed away,
Mm-hmm.
and so now Kelvin Spock is faced with the idea of duty. Sort of, he's faced with the duty of repopulating and reconstituting Vulcan society, and so he's thinking about leaving Starfleet, and and Jim at the same time is also thinking of leaving Starfleet, and he even recommends Spock for the command. So it's funny that they both haven't told each other that they're thinking of leaving.
You just called him Jim?
Yeah, I did. Hey, it's casual and informal.
Wow. Wow.
I also sometimes say Jean-Luc, whatever. But Captain Kirk is also thinking of leaving Starfleet. And what changes Captain Kirk's mind, obviously, is the entire sort of struggle that he goes through and realizing that what he wants most is actually to be the captain of a starship, especially the Enterprise. But what changes Spock's mind, I think, is when he sees this picture of the Prime Universe crew, and it happens to be a cast shot from Star Trek VI, I believe, and he sees that they all kind of grew old and happy together, and realizes that maybe his place is actually on the Enterprise. And even Prime Spock was so adamant about it, and he was so insistent. So I liked it a lot, and I do think that that was a very nice kind of way to celebrate the 50th anniversary. Because what else could they really do? These actors haven't been there for the last 50 years. Really, the 50th anniversary, I think, is more celebrated through the original cast, the remaining original cast, and also Next Generation have a pretty good stake in that as far as time. But I thought it was a nice nod to the original series crew. And actually, Doctor, I have some show and tell for you.
Oh,
I do. So when I
that's
was
right.
in 1992, I went to the Paramount Experience at this time. It was at Universal Studios. It wasn't. I think it was like a different. It was like a little Star Trek experience that you go to Universal Studios.
Yeah.
You go to Universal Studios, and you got to make a little video, which is somewhere. I have to find this video, but there's a video of me on the bridge of the Enterprise, doing my thing. I think my mom and dad might be in it, and my sister, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah,
wow.
you get to make this little video. And at the shop, they had like a couple of cool things for sale, and my mom convinced me to purchase. She was very kind. This Star Trek jean jacket.
Oh my gosh! Look at
so
that.
I have a Star Trek jean jacket with an embroidered insignia over here in the front, and
Wow.
then I lost my Starfleet Academy pin that was on here. Oh, I wonder where that's gone. Anyways, on the back of the jacket, there's a larger insignia, and it
wow.
And it says 25th anniversary 1991. Oh yeah, so 91 was this, not 92. So 1991, 25th anniversary. And for those of you listening to the podcast, I'll post a picture of this jacket on the Starfleet Boy page. So
that's extraordinary. That's very Star Trek V.
It's a very Star Trek V thing to have a jean jacket. You mean like Captain?
Yes,
he wore that.
Like McCoy. McCoy, I think, wore the jean jacket.
That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like, and it fits, but it's crop. It's like a short crop now, so it's a little weird. The fit's a little strange, so I can't really wear it. But I hope to pass it on to a niece or nephew, or someone in the future, some young person who's into Star Trek and worthy of the jacket. It'll be passed on like Excalibur.
That's great. That's fantastic. See, the 25th anniversary felt like something very special. I remember. Remember, there was a special on television. You remember?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, there's been stuff like that, but now it's like there's two Star Treks, right? So like we're kind of disjointed. There's no show right now on the air to celebrate. The films are in a different kind of timeline, so and they even have now distinguished them, and we understand that there's a Kelvin timeline and a Prime timeline. And so yeah, there's a lot. I think you touched on this in one of our previous discussions, is that it feels very sort of disjointed, but at the same time I am enjoying some of the things like the San Diego Comic-Con panel. I haven't finished listening to all that, but there's a lot of interesting and fun things there. And I think what is the actual date of the anniversary? Do you know? It's coming up soon. It's like
hold on,
September.
I'll tell you. I think I have it here. Actually, I do not.
Well, I suspect we'll see more stuff coming out by then. But yeah, I agree with you that it didn't feel like a 50th anniversary celebration in the film. But at the same time, I don't know if it needed to. I thought that what they did worked pretty well. Anything else about the movie?
No, but the thing that you went to at Universal Studios, I have. This is the official silver anniversary guide to the 25th anniversary here, and this kind of talks about all the different aspects of Star Trek at that time. And here they have what you were just talking about.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Right there. I don't know if I should bring it closer to the camera.
No, you got it. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Right. So, and I think there's a shot of the bridge right there, and it's quite extraordinary. I would love to see that video.
I gotta find. Yeah, I have to find it. I used to know where it was, but it's been many years since I've thought about watching it. And I guess 1991 was a pretty cool time. I think I was still in middle school, maybe, or was it just the beginnings of high school? I think I just started the 9th grade or whatever. And no, it was a really neat time to be a kid in high school, and a really neat time for Star Trek, as a matter of fact, because Star Trek: The Next Generation was now in its like 3rd or 4th season, and I think DS9's about to start. So there's a lot going on in the Star Trek universe, or the world, so to speak.
So getting back to the Star Trek Beyond, another thing that I really liked about the movie were the different aliens that we saw.
Oh, right.
Because it was the girl with the thing that you would put in her head. You had the captain, that alien captain.
Mm-hmm. I love the Universal Translator, by the way.
Oh, talk to me about that. Yeah.
The Universal Translator was really well done, and interpreted in a great way. And I like the scene where she's like kind of inside like this mainframe or whatever, and it's figuring her language out, and then there's a portable version that goes along with her.
And what about the little things, the little guys that were attacking Kirk at the beginning?
Oh, okay, so that's another great. You're right. So yeah, that was really cute too. Like, and a fun scene showing that all their missions are not always dramatic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they are dramatic, but maybe fun as well. And I thought those the perspective was very funny when we thought there were these giant creatures, and then one of them comes over to attack Kirk, and he's a little guy. Yeah, that was great. And I like the humor where he's like, I ripped another shirt.
That was a great line.
That was really funny.
That was a great line.
Yeah, there were a lot of great, again, the characters were just on point. And once again, stellar performances by all of the cast. Now, I need to kind of point out that we aren't really sure what this movie was going to be like. We had a lot of reservations, particularly around the director, Justin Lin, who, we kind of did something that happens so often and it's wrong, but we pigeonholed him as a action director, with Fast and the Furious films. And so I want to go on record and say that Justin Lin, you really delivered a fantastic film. And I had very low expectations because of the marketing of this movie and just kind of like the anti-hype that was going on. I bought into it and was scared, and I was extremely delighted when I saw the final film. And again, not a completely perfect film, because some of the things like the villain and for me personally didn't work, but I thought that overall the film worked really well. And I even I've been thinking about this a lot, and I'm not, and I keep going back and forth, but my thought is that for me, this is probably the most original in the Kelvin timeline, because the first one, Star Trek, the reboot, isn't allowed to be completely original. It had to do a lot of like, explanation, and had to like kind of incorporate a lot of things, but anyways, they're neck and neck for me, I feel. I keep thinking I really love this one more than all the other two, all three of them in the three new films. I go back from loving this one the best to, loving Star Trek the best. So for me, there's a debate still going on, but I really love this movie.
Well, I'll say this is that I think definitely the movie works as escapist entertainment. I mean, just as on pure adrenaline and summer fun and action. It's very, very good. Having said that, Star Trek has more often than not delivered a little bit more, and I don't think it delivers as 100% as a Star Trek movie. I think it's very very caught up in the action. From you go from the action of the Enterprise being destroyed, which is in many ways the highlight of the movie, to extended action sequences on the ground, Kirk and Chekhov on the saucer, and Spock and McCoy, running away from these people, to recovering the Franklin, rescuing the crew, then the Franklin doing the little, escape from the planet, kickstart, and then the final battle, which is split into, the Enterprise taking on the Swarm, and then the mano a mano between Kirk and Krall, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's very much action, and there's not a lot of, okay, wait a minute, what's really going on here? Who is this guy? What's all the people that have been captured? Where are all these people who have been on this planet? What is that little thing? How did it leave the planet in the first place? There's a lot of questions that I think, if you watch other Star Trek movies, they stop to answer in general. This movie does not. This movie is primarily concerned with entertaining you on a popcorn level, which is fine. That's what it is. It's a summer movie, and it delivers as a summer movie. That is a Star Trek movie. I think it's lacking in the story development, in the plotting. I would have liked to have known more about what was really going on. But again, it's I guess at this point it's apples and oranges. I mean, I think the Star Trek movies are going more in this action direction, and kind of leaving the more story oriented.
I mean, there was there's something that I think a lot of there might be a lot of opportunities that were missed to do just straight up exposition type
Mm-hmm.
storytelling, and I agree with you on that regard. I also noticed that, you know, a lot of science fiction that has a lot of action. For example, we like to talk about our other favorite show, Doctor Who, and I think that something interesting that Doctor Who does, which may be why Star Trek does it as well, is that they just kind of throw the exposition into the action. So you have the Doctor running around, you know, doing some kind of action, and he's explaining really intense kind of like technical things, or, you know, things about the story or things like that, while they're running around and doing all this stuff. And so I find that, like, when I watch Doctor Who or rewatch it, then I'm like, oh, then I'm like, oh, I missed that. I totally missed that because I was focused on the action. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
you know, this movie does that too. And I think I definitely remember now, mind you, when I saw Star Trek, it was the midnight showing and I'd been drinking. Uh, so I got to go back and watch it again, you know, and just kind of like pay a little bit more attention. But the impression that I have is that a lot of the exposition about Crawl and like the history is kind of thrown into these like intense scenes, these intense action scenes. And so, you know, we miss that. It's like,
It's at the last. I'll tell you exactly what happened. It's in the
mhm.
last 10 minutes of the movie.
Oh yeah, and you can't really, yeah, you can't buy into a villain like that. So yeah, there was definitely, I agree with you that it was missed, you know, missed opportunity to. There could have been one scene, maybe, you know, 5 minutes, 6 minute scene, just Crawl talking to Uhura. He seemed to like really relate to her or like her, and so there could have been a better scene. I know that they tried, but it's just
Yeah,
boom, 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 boom,
yeah.
boom.
I mean, the movie was good. I enjoyed it. It would be a movie that I would enjoy rewatching. But I mean, when you really put it up against Star Trek Two, Star Trek Four, Star Trek Six, even the first Kelvin Star Trek, which had a lot of heart. This movie,
Not so
I mean,
much for you.
I maybe I have to live with it more,
One of my
but
one of my complaints previously was that I thought that the Enterprise didn't get enough love. I also thought that Kirk didn't love the Enterprise as much as he should. And I feel like this movie did address some of those things. I think that we did get these beautiful shots of the Enterprise that we, you know, kind of like they hold the camera on it a little longer. We see it, you know, just a little longer before it's destroyed. And I really loved it was another touching scene. There were a few touching scenes in the film, but I really love the scene where Chekhov and Kirk kind of are heading back to the Enterprise hull saucer section, and they're looking at the wreckage, and you know it looks like despair, and I think Chekhov makes some kind of comment about, you know, how she's done, and Kirk says that, you know, he
she still
knows,
got a few tricks up
yeah,
her. Yeah.
inner left inner, and he knows it, like he's very confident about it. So there was like this love. I also enjoyed the during the destruction sequence. I really loved when Uhura initiated the saucer separation, even though it was initiated already in a sense, but she like actually disengaged the drive section from the saucer section, and I thought that was a really cool scene. And it was neat how Kirk bought her the time to do that, and you know that's how they
Hmm.
got separated. And no, it's just a lot of great moments in the movie, but it is very dense. Like it's really jam packed with action.
It
Um,
is. It is.
Going back to earlier, I also like the scene where during the destruction where you see them running through the halls, and then they pan out of the window, and you see the saucer section as well. That was another cool scene. Just a lot of stuff like that in the movie. It was very good.
I want to point out thus far the Kelvin movies seem to pay homage to the earlier Star Trek movies, and this is the third movie for this iteration of the crew, and
Mhm.
it echoes, of course, Star Trek 3, where
Right.
we
Where
lose the
the
Enterprise,
where the Enterprise, big loss. Yep.
right? And but then it goes one step further and kind of goes into Star Trek 4 territory, where you have the crew inhabiting another ship for part of the
Oh yeah,
movie,
it was
which
yeah
is Star
very
Trek 4,
reminiscent.
very
Hmm.
reminiscent, and likewise, it's a ship that crashes into the water, as it does in Star Trek 4, in order to save the day.
Oh, that's right.
And
And
and of
then they get a new
course,
Enterprise at
and
the
then I
end.
got
Yeah.
the Enterprise A, which is the ending of Star Trek 4. So, what do you
I
think
know
about
that
that?
the I thought that's very true. There were a lot of little moments, and there was a musical cue at the beginning of the film. I
Oh,
thought that also echoed the motion picture, which I really love. By the way, this
really?
yeah, the soundtrack, Michael Giacchino, the soundtrack is gorgeous. I've been listening to it pretty regularly, and it's really really well done.
Hmm.
Hmm. So the soundtrack was pretty good too. There were a lot of little echoes of all the Star Trek films, I thought, throughout this movie, and yeah, again, I like that, and I think in that way, it does celebrate the 50th anniversary. It tries to at least do a pretty good job. So I think it's time to give it our rating on our 10-point scale, and
I was
I
going. Go ahead.
on Drunk Space Nine, I gave it a 7. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and stay and keep it at that solid 7. So 7 out of 10 for me.
Hmm. I have to think about this.
Hey, wow, interesting.
Yeah, I haven't lived with the movie yet. For it's like you. I saw it. This only came out what, a week ago? Is it a week even?
It's a week now almost. Yeah.
It'll be a week Friday since I saw it,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
we're recording this on the I think it's a Wednesday. I will say I give it a. I will go with your 7.
Oh wow, we're in agreement.
I will give it with you. I will go with your 7. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a
So
lot.
Star Trek Beyond, we both enjoyed it. A good solid 7. It's a fun ride through the Star Trek universe. Lots of interesting new characters to explore. We didn't even talk about Commodore Paris, who might be yeah, Lieutenant Paris's great 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 grandmother. Is it Lieutenant Paris or was he a different rank? I can't remember. Anyways, it's a nice little Voyager tie-in there for all the Voyager fans. And just overall, I think that would be really worked. For me, I think this is the most original of the new films, and I look forward to going to see it again in theaters.
Um, yeah. Well, I'll debate it more when my thing is when I'm working better. But
When
the comment you're saying about it being the most original, I don't know. The first of the Kelvin ones, it's an original
I
plot.
think
I
I
mean,
think it
not
is.
plot, but
Oh, I think you're probably right in the sense that I think what I really mean to say is that this felt like the most dark of the three for me. In that way, it felt maybe not original. I think that was the wrong choice of words, but it just felt the most of the three films. It just felt the most. I guess what I meant by original is that it's so different. Like Star Trek, uh, Kelvin, Star Trek One.
Kelvin won.
It is original, but it's like there was a lot of things that like felt a lot like redone. Like the Nero was not unlike every other villain, like Shinzon or whoever who wants to come to Earth and destroy Earth and wants to destroy the Federation. And while he had a great reason for doing it, it just still felt like another villain that wants to come and destroy Earth. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
this guy did too.
well, yeah, no, well, he did, but again, because he didn't work as a villain, I think that's why the film, I think that's why the film for me felt more original. He doesn't make it to Earth.
Compliment.
Because he didn't make it to, like, so in Star Trek, Kelvin 1, villain makes it to Earth. We have the scene where the drill is drilling in next to the dangerously close to the Golden Gate Bridge. Star Trek 2, you have a rehash of an old villain. You have Khan, which, okay,
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, totally, rehash. And you have another scene on Earth at Starfleet headquarters where a ship actually crashes into San Francisco and causes a lot of destruction, right? So,
and here we have the Franklin crashing into the Yorktown,
right,
which
but
looks like Starfleet Command.
Yeah,
and
it looks like
and there's water again.
But it's nowhere near the amount of destruction that we saw in the other two. It also isn't Earth, and like, they're foiled pretty easily. Like, I think the movie was original in that it didn't end in the way that you would expect it to. Where, like, what you expect from these Kelvin movies is this like gigantic scale of destruction. Like, I honestly thought the Yorktown station was a goner. Like, I was like, okay, here we go. We're about to see like this like beautiful bubble snow globe station. Like, I bet the glass is going to shatter and all the people are going to get sucked out into space, or some massive amount of destruction. And then when you think about the amount of destruction that actually occurred, it's extremely light. The only thing that really is impactful is the Enterprise's destruction. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same as before. It's definitely not the same as the other two. So that's what I kind of was touching at. And maybe my use of original is incorrect, but I definitely think that it's different. It's on a different note. And I liked it. I liked that it wasn't just crazy.
I did love how the Franklin was going through the. I just loved those
tubes
that the ship pass through, and the Franklin's going under it, and this guy's above it, and I just love the geography that we saw in play.
Yeah.
On the Yorktown, I thought that added a lot to those scenes. And then I want to say that I really enjoyed the fight in 0G between Kirk and Krall.
Yeah, that was cool.
He had the glass, going around, and then that's how Krall realized, oh, I can just keep riding this wave and all that. And again, it's speaks to Justin Lin's command of action sequences. I think the movie has a lot of it. Really features a really great action, and that's the highlight of the movie. But
the action sequences are technically flawless, and they're very
thrilling, very thrilling.
They're very thrilling. You're absolutely
yeah. And I think that adrenaline keeps you going, and I think on reviewing, it will hold up. I think. I mean, obviously, I've only seen it once, but I came away with a very good impression of the movie. So I could, 7. 7 is the number.
Nice, holding at a 7, Captain. Warp 7, Captain.
Engage.
Indeed. Well, I really appreciate, despite your condition, you coming on the show and doing a commentary with me.
It's all right, man.
It'd be a pretty boring show if it was just me talking to myself.
I apologize to everybody who has to listen to me and see this.
I think that
on my side,
I think most people will be very understanding, and we just want you to get well soon, Doctor.
Thank you. Me too.
All right. Well, on that note, another great discussion. I felt we covered a lot of ground on Star Trek. Definitely going to go see it again, and maybe we could sprinkle in some additional discussion as we do our next gen rewatches. But until next time, live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.
Thank you very much.